Okay, this is Business 342, the practice final, set 2, problem number 4. It says, over the past 5 years, Buster's has had annual returns of 5.4%, negative 19.2%, 21.2%, 14.6%, and negative 2.1%. What is the geometric average rate of return? And I say on page 59 and 60, it talks about geometric and arithmetic rate of return. And we'll go over that just real quick so you just remember. There's two different, excuse me, not rate of return. I keep saying rate of return. It's mean. It says, what is the geometric average rate of return? Average means mean, right? So what is the geometric mean? He uses different words in these things to try to confuse you. Okay, so remember, there's two ways to figure out the mean. One is the arithmetic way, which is basically just a simple average. The math mean is, and that's the math mean, is each one of the different returns, because remember this is for the returns, divided by the time periods. So if you have 4 different returns, you just add them together, divide them by the time period, the 4 time periods by 4, and that gets you just an average of the mean. Okay, the geometric mean is you basically compound all those rates. So it's 1 times the first rate times, 1 plus the first rate of return times 1 plus the second rate of return, and so on and so forth to however many rates of returns you have. Okay, you multiply those all together, and then you compound them by the exponent 1 over t, where t is the number of time periods. After you get all that, you subtract 1. So it's basically, because this is basically being able to multiply this times this, you got to add 1 to each one of those. So you don't have just 6%. You got 1.06 times 1.08 times 1.09, or whatever the rates are. You can't just, because they'd get small if you didn't add 1 to it each time. And then, like, this would be, if this is 1 over 4 for the exponent, 1 over 4 is also 0.25. So you can take all this, multiply it together, then y to the x, and your y to the x would be 0.25 instead of having to do a fraction like that. And then you minus 1, because remember you've added 1, so you got to get rid of 1 just to get the percentage, the rate of return, the geometric mean. So in this case, they're asking for the geometric mean. So I just put up here the arithmetic, the math versus the geometric mean, pages 59 and 60 of your workbook. So the geometric mean is 1 plus the rate for the first period times 1 plus the rate for the second period times 1 plus the rate for whatever number of periods. You multiply those all together, and then you go y to the x, 1 over t, and then you subtract 1, and that gets you the geometric mean. So in this case, they told you the first annual return is 5.4%. You got to do these as decimals. So 1 plus 0.054. This is negative 19.2, so 1 minus 0.192. Then 21.2, 1 plus 0.212, and then 14.6, 1 plus 0.146, and then the last one is negative 2.1%, so 1 minus. Remember, they're negative because you're either 1 plus or 1 minus. When they're negative, you subtract it, because remember, you're multiplying these all together, and then you're doing by 1 over the number of time periods. So in this case, there's 5 different time periods, so 1 over 5, and then you've got to subtract 1 in the end, because otherwise you're not going to end up with a percentage. You're going to end up with 1 plus something, 100 and something percent. So you multiply these all together, and notice I changed 1 over 5 to 0.2 for the exponent, which is 1 over 5, right? Just makes it easier to plug it into your calculator. And then you're subtracting 1 at the end. And so all you do is, once you've calculated this, you've got 1.158036. So let's just do it real quick. Make sure that you understand exactly what I'm talking about. So you got 1.158036. Let me back this up a little bit. then you hit y to the x, 0.2, then equals, and now you got 1.029838. You got to subtract the 1 at the end, remember, and that gets you 0.02978, which is basically, if you round it, 2.98%. Okay, so remember to make this a decimal, then you use y to the x. Okay, so 2.98% is answer D, and so that's the answer. So that's Business 342, the practice final, set 2, problem number 4.